Hello, I am Chase Roth, and I'm here today with Ron Holmes of Riker USA, as well as being an original member of the Veteran Business Collective. Appreciate your support over the last year, Ron.
Yes, it's I love being part of the organization, and getting to see it grow over the last year has been a lot of fun. And then just the whole purpose of why you guys started it, I have benefited from it on a professional level and a personal level. So it's mission success.
That's amazing to hear, man. I appreciate you saying so. Would you mind elaborating a little bit on that?
I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but after spending 20 years in the Marines and 5 years in government service, I still have a call to serve in my community and just trying to figure it out. And one of the ways I have been able to do that is we live in a castle law state, we live in a pro-gun state, and I look at it as if you're going to carry a gun in the community I live in, if you're new to firearms, I want to have a hand in that. I want to have a hand in your training. So being able to make an impact with my 25 years of life experience into the community I live in to help, in my view, make it a safer place, then that's great. So the VBC has allowed me to expand, bring more people out. You and your dad, your family, we came out, we had a great day on the range.
Yeah, we did.
And just try to just grow, like Rob likes to say, like my blue ocean, and then business opportunities and networking, and then just being able to mentor a few guys that I've met at the the evening meetings, and then just like the friendships, and me finding out about Signal Fire, and now we at Riker USA we have been able to hire you guys to help us, continue to grow and mature our appearance as a company. So yeah, it's
that's exactly why we're doing what we're doing. It's so cool to hear firsthand from a member, a veteran business owner, that you've been able to tap into all three of the aspects of the Veteran Business Collective that we're trying to shoot for, which is that sense of purpose that you found through being able to mentor new guys coming into business, leaving the military. You found a tribe you could reconnect with, and then you're finding some economic support through referral business and picking up some new clients and that sort of thing too. So that's just it's great to hear that sort of success story coming out of the group. So I appreciate you sharing that, man. Mm-hmm. We did kind of jump ahead a little bit, but no, that's cool. It's good for people to hear that and know what we're up to. But you served, as you said, 25 years?
20 years active duty,
20 years active.
Marines, and then 5 years government service.
And you were a reconnaissance Marine, correct?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your time in the military and what that was like for you.
I joined in 1989, and my recruiter was great. I went to recruiter when I was 16. I actually thought I was going to boot camp the next day, and I was going to finish high school and boot camp. I was heartbroken when he told me I couldn't join until I was 17 and I had to graduate high school. And I tried everything. I was like, all right, how about this? I quit school, I get a GED, and I go to boot camp in 2 months. And he's just like, no, dude, no. And I was like, how about I get emancipated from my parents and a GED? And he's just like, dude, just stop. Yeah, so
just wait a year.
I just want him to go. And it's not that I love my family. My parents are still, I'm fortunate my parents are still married, but I wanted that. I knew what I wanted. I just wanted out. I wanted a challenge, and I wanted to, I wanted what I told him. I want camis and an M16. I want to live in the woods, and I want to see the world. And I pretty much got all of that. Yeah. So I went in, and then he was an awesome recruiter. He's like, I want guaranteed infantry. And he's just like, I'm not going to do that. He's just like, you're going to come back in a year and you're going to be like, oh, you hate me and this, that, and the other. He's like, you know what? Tell you what, I'm going to hook you up. That's what he told me. I'm going to let you go in open contract.
Oh, man.
And I was like,
infamous open contract.
I'm like, whoa, what is that? That sounds.
That's where the Marine Corps gets all their cooks from.
Yes. And he's just like, man, you go. And he never mentioned cook or wireman or nothing. I don't even think wireman's an MOS anymore.
Probably not.
And, he's like, yeah, man, he's like, you could be a grunt, you could be this, that, and everything. I'm like, all right, yeah, that sounds good. Whatever. It's getting me to Marine Corps faster. I don't care.
Right.
And that was one of the things. He was like, if you go open contract, I have a date for you here. If not, if you're waiting for a specific school seat, it could be another 6 months. And I was just like, yeah, I'm out. Let's go. I'll do it. And then like I get through boot camp and I get to MCT, and then I start realizing like open contract was a horrible way to like put my fate and my dream of being a Marine, you know. And the grunt list came out. I remember an MCT, because when I went to MCT, it was the second course ever run. So like MCT, I was there from like the conception. Very like it was brand new.
That's Marine combat training.
Marine combat training. It's like 28 days
Infantry
after
training
boot camp
for non-infantry MLSs,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Back then, infantry Marines had to go through that, and then they went right to SOI.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because they were still trying to figure it out. But in MCT, the grunt list came out, and I'm like, we get it, and we're looking, and I'm like, I'm not on it. And then I'm just like, damn it, I'm gonna be a cook. This sucks. Like, oh man, I'm just like, and then I started thinking, I was like, well, maybe I could go embassy duty. Maybe I could go security forces. You know, I started just trying to like find an avenue. And then they came out, and they're like, they read all these other names, and it was just like, yeah, you guys are gonna be 2531s, field radio operators. And it was like, what's that? And they're like, you're a grunt with a radio. And I'm like, awesome. So that was cool. So I went to comm school, went from comm school to Okinawa with Lab Battalion, a Stinger missile battalion. As funny as when I was at comm school, and you're not even going to know the piece of gear I'm getting ready to talk about. It's called a DCT, Digital Computer Terminal. And it was this big, massive like thing. I can't remember the batteries. It was like a long cylinder battery and heavy ass cables, and went into the 104s. It worked best over HF, but it had pre-programmed formats in it, and your 9 lines, your medevacs, resupplies, everything like that. And it was a very primitive iPad. We were the first class in comm school to get trained on it, and I get to Okinawa. July 1990. August 2nd, 1990, I get promoted to Lance Corporal. I turn 19, and George Bush Sr. declares war on Saddam Hussein. 20 days later, I'm on a ship at Red Beach, Okinawa, on the USS Schenectady, setting sail for Saudi Arabia, for Gulf War. So at this point, I'm in the Marine Corps 9 months, and I'm like, man, I'm getting like, this is where it's at. Like, this is what I'm getting, But the one thing that got me on that deployment was there was 2 communicators. We had graduated the same time, ended up in the same unit. And what they did was I got assigned to the platoon that was going out, and then he got assigned to the reserve platoon. That DCT is what got me on my first official, deployment. I don't want to say combat deployment, but, because we never shot a missile. But so I went from there and then came back. It was 9 months, and then came back. So my first time in Okinawa, I was actually only on island, I think, 90 days. And then, so I missed out on so much, and came back to the States. I ended up at Lejeune, and at Lejeune I went from 8th Comm Battalion to the comm platoon for it's another unit that's not around anymore, Surveillance, Intelligence, Reconnaissance Group. So that used to be, and I think it was called it was a MEB before that. And what the SHRIG did is it had an element from Force, and it had SOTG, it had Topo, Intel, 8th Comm, and engineers. And you were like a MAGTAF, which is what SHRIG went away, and then it became Special Purpose MAGTAF. Marine Air Ground Task Force. So I was with that, and then I went to Anglico. I was at Anglico for a couple years, and then I get orders back to Okinawa, which I'm not unhappy about at all. I think that was 94. And now I end up I get assigned to 5th Force. And it's funny, it's like I get there, and they're like, hey man, you want to be here? I'm like, yeah, I want to be here. This is my ultimate goal. And they're like, all right, man, well, there's an indoc in 3 weeks. And so my boys, who are to this day my best friends, to this day, they got me ready. And it's funny, is like so many pivotal things happen in Okinawa, and they happen on my birthday. The induct was on my birthday. I turned 25. Dumb things that we remember. My laundry number in boot camp was 25. Right. Okay. You know, just like all these things, you know, so it's just like, yeah. And there was, you know, it was an old school induct, man. It started at, I don't know, like midnight, and we went a full like 30 hours, like nonstop moving. And it was awesome. It was awesome. And then I did 3 years there at 5th Force, and I ended up back at Lejeune at 2nd Force, and then I ended up in Alaska, running out, being part of the I&I staff for the reserve unit up there. At the time, it was Echo Company 4th Recon, and that was like dream deployment, man, just being in Alaska. I was up there for a while, came back to 2nd Force, was at 2nd Force, and then what is it, November, December 05. I checked in November, December, January. January 6th, we became 2nd MSOB. Mm-hmm. And then I finished out at MARSOC. I retired out of MARSOC. I was the G6 comm chief, or operations chief, and spent when I got promoted in Master Sergeant and got put up into G6, spent the last 3 years creating the first Marine Special Operations Communication School, we call MNOC, Marine Network Operators Course. Mm-hmm. And that was honestly having spent my last 3 years in a non-deployable status, which is not what I joined the Marine Corps for. Right. But I got to do something, and this is one of the things now I love, meeting all the raiders, you know, and you know, at the VBC functions, and guys I meet at towns or come, you know, around town, come out to the range and stuff. I always ask them if they've been through the course, and they're like, "Yeah, man." And we start talking about it, and they're like, "Why are you asking?" I'm like, "Yeah, I created it. That wasn't like always there. It was, it didn't exist." And they're like, "Dude, that's pretty cool," you know. Yeah. So for me, it's awesome to hear that, you know, like, nice. It's, you know, it's what we wanted. It's organic, and it's got different versions of it, broken off the original one. And it sounds like, from everybody I've talked to even recently, it sounds like it's still growing and it's ever changing. So
it sounds like you had a pretty extensive and adventurous 20 years in the Marine Corps. Then you made it all over, not just Lejeune, but you went places Marines don't usually spend a lot of time, like Alaska and other places. And then, of course, you know, we had the whole thing going on in Afghanistan, Iraq, and I'm sure you were back and forth to there throughout all that time as well.
Yeah, I actually spent so when I was in Alaska. So downside of being in Alaska, I checked into Alaska July 2000, or 2001, and then, you know, then 9/11 happens, and now
I was in SOI when 9/11 happened.
Yeah, I'm like sitting there, we're watching it, you know, and it's like we weren't going anywhere, so. We were trying to get on, like, one of our reserve platoons got, you know, they got called up. One of we had 3 teams that were full 0321 guys, you know, comm 0321 like me in the team, and tried to get them. We tried to get on with them, and they were like, "No, it's not happening. Like, that's not how this works." And we're like, you know. And so that kind of stunk. But then this opportunity came up. 2nd Force at the time was doing this like FID mission in Yemen. And they got to the point where they were overtasked. They could not fulfill the commitment for the next year. So they went to the reserves. My name came up, and I put together my team of reserves, and I went and I spent over a year in Yemen. So that was sick. That was
sounds like it'd be pretty wild.
It was awesome. Yeah. You know, we did all kinds of good stuff and neat stuff, and then it was like a dream deployment. You know, credentials, like long hair, beard, like, you know, no uniforms. You know, I get over there, I get an AK and a Glock, and I'm like, man, I am in every 80s movie I've ever like watched. This is so sick, right? Yeah. But no, it was fun, man. It was fun, and then I again, being non-deployed for my last 3 years, which is kind of what led me into, feeling like I still, that call to serve, which I just mentioned, but still had some gas in the tank, and, had an opportunity and went, actually worked for JSOC for 1 year. I was actually a comm chief, essentially a civilian version, and was in charge of a lot of civilians in all the FOBs and in 3 countries. So
Okay.
I got to, as a civilian, I just go down to the floor, schedule my own air, fly up, go spend like a week with these guys up here, bouncing around, making sure that everybody was good and that they saw their leadership,
Yeah.
And that was a lot of fun. And then the only reason I stopped doing that job is they changed the contract, because it was cool, because it was 90 days on and it was 80 days off. So I was like, this is good. I can do that. They changed the contract. They wanted to do 6 months on, 6 months off. And I was like, no, I'm not doing those deployments. Like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And then I went the diplomatic security route, and I did that until I had cancer. And then my doctor was like, hey, bro, you probably shouldn't leave the country for 2 years until your body gets right. And at that point, it was about 25 years of deploying. And I was like, it wasn't fun anymore. It just got to that point where it was just like, it was too hard to leave my wife.
Mm-hmm.
And it just like, the risk wasn't worth the reward. We were trying to start a family. So, yeah. And then right about that time, cancer times, right when I've already had prototypes of the grip done, but it was right about that time when my partners, we came together and we started the company and made it real.
Yeah, so you got away from the deploying and the running and gunning that you did, active duty military and then post-military, your contracting gigs, but you've managed to still stay in it, just without the traveling now. So we said earlier I got to go to the range and shoot with you. I got to take my dad out and shoot. So you run some fantastic ranges, everything from just regular concealed carry classes to ladies' night to full-on tactical training for people with advanced skills. So that's got to be great to be able to stay involved with something that you had so much passion for. And then I want to get into, your products that you've developed, because I think our listeners, we're the Veteran Business Collective, so they like to hear about the business side of things. And you're our first guest that's filed patents, invented something from nothing, taken a product idea through manufacturing and prototyping and all that to market, multiple products. So can you share a little bit about how you started that process and what that was like, going from, active duty military guy, always deployed, to trying to figure out how to manufacture and take a product to market?
Yeah. So, you don't know what you don't know, right? And that's something that will remain true for rest of our lives. You don't know what you don't know, and some lessons are hard lessons, and some, are blessings, right? When I was in Okinawa, myself and Mike Joyce, we created this little clip out of PVC pipe, zip ties, and foam to hold our shotguns. We were breachers, so we carried shotguns as well. And we were working with the SEAL team over there, and these guys honestly, they were awesome. We had the best time for that 6 months they were there. And I was like, yo, that's pretty cool. Can I take some pictures of it? And I'm like, yeah, man, cool. 25-year-old, Recon Marine Ron Holmes. What do I know about patents and copyrights and trademarks and stuff like that? I'm just like, I'm left-handed in a right-handed world in a tactical environment where the tactical industry didn't exist. Mm-hmm. So everything that came out was side-specific to a right-handed shooter. So I've always had to undo and redo and create and make it work for me. My being left-handed, honestly, is my superpower. It is just, I've always had to deal with, figure out
workarounds for stuff that wasn't designed for you.
And I'm fortunate. My son is a true lefty, left eye dominant, left hand.
Oh, really?
And when he meets you too, he'll be like, "Hey, are you a left or right-handed shooter?" Like, that's his jam. Like, that's what he goes to. Then he can size you up. And
oh gosh.
But yeah, so all that. So then fast forward, I check in the second we're doing some stuff with the team guys over on the East Coast here. We're up at James River doing the VBSS stuff, and I see them fast roping down, and they're doing this little thing, and I'm like, and I notice it, and I walk up after. I'm like, yo, where'd you get that? And they're like, dude, our boys from West Coast sent pictures to the dude at London Bridge Tactical, and this guy made these, and I was just like, And they're like, what's wrong, bro? And I'm just like, and I showed them my belt. I said, you see that? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, that's the one they took pictures of. And they're like, they looked at me. They're like, I'm sorry, man. And I'm just like, so I didn't know anything.
Right.
So I was just more.
Well, you probably weren't thinking about it from an economic opportunity.
No.
You were thinking about, I've got a problem I need solved. I just solved it. And when somebody else wanted to take a picture of it, you were probably thinking they were thinking the same thing you were. They're going to go build their own to solve their own problem, not that they were going to, take your idea and go to market with it,
Yeah. So, it's stuff like that. And, and again, like in high school, I was in DECA, Distributive Education Classes of America. It was like a business, prep course. And that was fun. We had to design a product. It was our senior year project. We had to design this project and everything and take it to market. And I'm pretty sure that our teacher, he took all of our stuff and then he submitted stuff because I saw my idea out on the market.
Out in the wild later on?
Yeah. So
you got your start while you were with inventing things while you were still on active duty?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that being said is I have a really good friend of mine, a mentor, Adam Slank. This guy has done, I think by the time he was like 25, he had about 40 patents on things that he's created and invented and everything. And when he and I met, we sat down and I started talking to him about my idea and, explained it to him and everything like this. And he's just like, dude, this is phenomenal. He's like, what do you need? I was like, I don't know how to start. And so he gave me a map. He was just like, you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. And it's going to cost this, 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 and this. And I was like, all right, cool. So I took my notes and everything like that, and then when we hit to the point where, my partners and I, we sat down, we talked, and we want to start the company, they're like, all right, how do, I guess we got to find a way to write a patent. And I go, I got our roadmap. So we did everything that he said, and Adam's great. He'll tell you, he's like, I've given that advice to thousands of people, and he's like, you guys are the only ones that did it, and it's worked.
Nice.
And I do everything I can to pass it on. I've passed on that information to half a dozen people, and I know 2 of them are actually in the process right now. So
you found a mentor.
Yep.
He had good advice.
Yep.
And you listened to it.
Yep.
And that got you started.
Yep.
Okay, so you obviously filed for the patent.
So you have to do a patent writer, a patent search, right?
Okay.
So we sat down with this patent writer. Now we had already formed our business. We had formed our LLC at the time. So we sat down with the patent writer, gave him all my sketches and everything like this, and he's taking notes and everything, and he's like, all right. And we gave him information about other things that were in the market. So ours directly mounts horizontally off the side. Everything else on the market is vertically mounted on the south side of the rail. So he's going through everything, and he asked me, he's like, okay, he goes, I have to ask. He's like, how do you know this product doesn't exist? And I was like, if it existed, I'd have 30 of them. And he's like, good enough for me. I'm off on the timeline, but I think it was about 6 months. And he came back and he was just like, you're good. Like, you're either onto something or you're onto nothing. And we're like, well, what does that mean? He's like, well, no one's filed. No one's ever done anything on the side of any shoulder fire system. And he's like, so like I said, you're either onto something or people have just
decided it wasn't worth it.
It wasn't worth it.
Right.
And he goes, but that being said, here's your first version of your patent. So we already had our patent. We had already done our due diligence at this point too. Mm-hmm. Is there was no need to put any money forward into development if we couldn't get a patent. Right. Or if we were going to have to pay to license someone else's patent. And so it goes to our patent attorney, and the patent attorney sends it forward. We had already found the engineer firm in Raleigh, North Carolina, Lout Design. These guys are great. They're young, they're forward thinking, but they had already done stuff in the tactical space, and they were very excited to work on our project. So we already had that lined up. The moment that the lawyer sent it forward, we were patent pending status. And that's when we pulled the trigger with the engineers and we went. That whole process from prototype and everything was probably almost a year and a half till we actually got to the point where we had a full product. Now, in that whole time frame, we've had, we filed for, I think at that time, 3 patents. We found investors and, had the mold, and then really just started trying to figure it out. And that's and then we ended up releasing on my son's first birthday. We wanted it to be symbolic. The company and the grip, everything is named after him. My partners made that decision when we had to change from an LLC to a C Corp, and we had to change our name. And we were kind of pissed because our LLC name, you'll like this one, because my partners are both...
I haven't heard this, so
I'm
excited.
My partners are both Navy, right? Our company was called Shipmate, which is hilarious. It's like, if you know, you know. And Shipmate, for you guys that don't understand, it's a derogatory term but used between Marines and sailors on ship.
Yep.
And it's honestly, it was hilarious,
Yeah.
So we were bummed because we were like, our logo is tight. It was old nautical, like old school, like American traditional nautical anchor with stars around it. We were like, no, we're golden. We're done. We don't have to think about this going forward. Now, we can't transfer the name. So we're like, so they made the decision. My Riker had been born, and we had a meeting, and they're like, hey, look, we made a decision. We know we're gonna name the company. And I'm like, oh, we do? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, and they're like, we want to call it Riker USA. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, are you serious? And they're like, yeah. They're like, dude, we're here because of you. It's a badass name. Like, let's do this. And I was like, let me ask Tracy. And I asked my wife, and she's like, are you serious? I was like, yeah. She's like, oh my God, that's so cool. So now my son, who just turned 5, is probably like the only 5-year-old with his own private label.
Yeah, right.
So that was it. We launched officially on his first birthday in September 2014, and with one product. And we are now up to, I think, 11 products, and we've got about 5 more in development right now.
So what was your primary go-to-market strategy when you came up with just the one product? Was it online sales? Were you hitting shows hard? What were you doing to get your product out there? Delusions
of grandeur.
Okay.
We thought that we were going to release this product using the eye test, right? What we see. Mm-hmm. I'm a consumer, and I know what catches my eye and what makes me like, ooh, I need that. I know what pulls me in. So I kind of we tried to look at stuff like that. And you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
We thought we were just going to do, we're going to get on social media, just like everybody, At the time, Black Rifle Coffee and Article 15, they were paving the way for the veteran, community on veteranpreneurship and everything like that. So you got to kind of look at that and see their growth. And you're like, I can do that. Mm-hmm. Little did we know, when we launched, you cannot do paid advertising on any social media platform, even Google Ads, anything firearms related. Mm. And that, our delusions of grandeur of driving Bentleys by Christmas was shot out of the water, right? So, so challenges, right? So
what'd you do? How'd you pivot? What was your
online? And then again, the tactical industry is it's catty. It's catty. It's full of experts. 1% of our entire armed forces makes up the special operations community, but 99% of Facebook is a former special operator. Right?
Yeah, just pick a local gun store and go to it, and everybody that works behind the counter was Spec Ops, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it's just like we had to, when we launched, we pretty much called it the Embrace the Hate campaign. Internally, and it was just like prison rape and hate we were getting from groups and stuff, and so we came up with the idea, and got some guidance from Mike Mahalski of Sons of Liberty Gun Works down in San Antonio, and Wes Whitlock, Marine veteran entrepreneur, Rogue American, and Inventor Coffee. And both of them pretty much said the same thing. They're like, it's gonna sound weird, but you need to put love into the internet, not hate. He goes, meet that hate with love. And he's like, meet it head on. Start engaging. And so what we did is, because to be completely honest, man, the company's named after my son. I invented this. I'm proud of it. I use it. I believe in it. I've seen people's lives change, them get benefit from it or get something back from it. And now we got these people who've never tried it, who don't know me, and they're just running their mouths and, everything like this. So it's just whew, that stings a little. What, we weren't prepared for that, right? It was just like, all right, whatever. Makes you think too about like how you interact with other people. You know, treat others how you would like to be treated, that kind of thing.
But that's got to be a tough pill to swallow, right? You've put at this point years into this. You've taken investor money to launch it. You've put all this work into it. It's named after your kid, and you would maybe expect isn't the right word, but at least hope that it would be well received within the marketplace, and then to have a bunch of haters come out of the woodwork and basically try and run you into the dirt before you even get a chance to really get started. To persevere through that is impressive.
Yeah.
To not just be like, oh, I guess nobody likes us and pack up your bags, but you didn't do that.
Nah. Nope. So we engaged. If you left a negative-ish style comment, I engaged with you. Like nonstop. Like it was to the point where like I looked at my wife, I was like, I've got to keep hours or something, because I was constantly in the messages and everything. You know, and then as I learned as I go along, Herm Edwards used to be ESPN analyst, you know, pro football player. He's a coach out in Arizona, one of the colleges out there. He used to say, don't hit send. Don't hit send. His thing was write it down, write it out, and walk away.
Sit on
and
it.
come back and reread it. That advice. And then Joe Rogan, don't read the comments. You know, we got sucked into the comments and everything, but at the beginning, we kind of had to. You know, and then more advice Wes gave me was, he's like, dude, if you got haters, you're doing something right. He's just like, you've got their attention. And he's just like, and he goes, you know what? He goes, don't pay him any mind. He goes, focus on the ones. So we really try to do, we're not 100%, you know, there's only 3 of us, you know, and I'm the road warrior. Both my partners actually have real jobs. I'm the fortunate retired stay-at-home dad that gets to teach soccer moms and special operators how to shoot, right?
Yeah,
and I get to travel and promote my company. So, you know, learning that and learning how to navigate that and climbing out of that. And you know what? If you don't like it, that's fine. That's what we say. It's just like, look, we're not saying it's the end-all, be-all. We feel it is a far superior product. We believe in it. And if you don't like it, then you don't like it. But all you got to do is try it. All you guys try. That's why we have like 120-day, no questions asked, money back, you know, guaranteed return, right? And you know, we really just try to do our best, whether it's an email or it's a DM, you know, just to engage and respond to everybody. And it's hard, even still now. We still do that. That's our policy. We don't really ever want to get away from that, because customer service is huge, you know, especially for a small business, you know, and we're still learning. You know, I'm fortunate that my partners they're actually businessmen. They're like MBA guys, and I am not. So this is part of our majority of our success as an operating company is because of what they do and what I've learned from them. Like, you know, it's funny is just like I look at it. I'm in my 12th year of retirement, and I'm so far removed from my past life. And you know, I'm a businessman now. You know, I'm a tradesman. I'm like, you know, I'm old school, like, you know, going from town to town, and you know, like, yeah. So
opening up your trunk and pulling out your wares.
Pretty much, man. Yeah. And so road shows, we did some road shows and everything like that, and learning how to navigate that and the good ones and everything. Don't be like, oh, feel like you got to go to all of them. You got to go to the right ones. You know, that saying is, it's not how many business cards you give out, it's who you give them to. It's kind of like that same theory, right? So we done a lot of the shows here in, you know, North Carolina and stuff, but we started figuring out, we got into some of the bigger shows and everything, and I have been constantly evaluating like things that I could do better, what I learned from each show. And we're at the point now where we've completely, you know, we've upgraded our appearance. We've brought in, you know, we've really just gotten that much more mature, you know, appearance from everything, which is why we're doing new, you know, in-studio videos with you guys. And it's awesome on that side of things. And then now looking at, you know, getting a reputation out there at the shows and understanding the circuit and finding the really good ones, to the point where I'm actually now working with one of our shooters who's still active duty Army up in Maryland, 6-8 training group. We're building a massive event up, our own high-end industry show at Country Range in Maryland. We just did a light one just to prove to the range what we could do. Mm-hmm. We're doing another one in April, and then we're going to have a massive, probably 80 vendor show in October 2022 at Country Range. So I've gone to the point where all right, I don't like this one, I like this one, I like this one. Okay, I like these things from this. This is what they could have done better, blah, 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 to now putting that into developing my own trade show.
Right.
Which highlights the benefit of it. It highlights that facility because the facility's ridiculous, dude. 34 indoor bays, 64,000 square foot facility. They have 20,000 they haven't even developed on yet. It's insane how amazing it is in there. But again, so we're going to highlight the facility, and then just bring in key vendors and make an amazing weekend up there.
This is a really cool story. I want to try and capture some of the highlights that I think I've been able to pull from what you said. Because, I mean, you've shared so much great information, right? Like, you talked a lot about the things you did, the things you consciously did well, right? So I think the first one was you found somebody who knew more than you did about what you're going to try and get into. Not the tactical products market, but just how to get into the patent process.
How to start
with manufacturing, right? You found a guy that was willing to help, and you listened. You didn't act like a know-it-all. You took what he had to say to heart. And then the second thing that I heard you say that made a big difference for you, you partnered with people who were smarter than you in other areas. Like, you had this part down, but like you said, you found some partners with MBAs that are business people that could bring those strengths to the table. So it seems like you're really good from the beginning of surrounding yourself with folks who brought strengths to the table and were able to help in ways that you wouldn't have been able to do on your own. Do you think that has a lot to do with where you are today?
100%. But I think one of the bigger things is failure. Mm-hmm. The failure I had prior to this, the failure I had with 2 previous business engagements. I aligned myself with people. I liked the concept of what we were trying to do, and then just as we moved forward, I realized, that both the people I had aligned myself with were morally bankrupt people.
And these were separate ventures, not related to this?
Not related at all.
So you took some hard lessons out of those first couple tries, and so you were already experienced when you decided to do this. You kind of knew some things to avoid, how to kind of vet your partners a little bit.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Well. So my partners is, again, it's kind of like a lot of stuff goes back to Alaska, and my partner Jake is a Navy. He was a Navy crypto guy. He's a Mustang. He retired officer. We were 2 ships passing in the night. We literally rotated in and out. Didn't know each other in Alaska at the same time, and ended up with the same core group of friends up there, local friends. Like, weird.
Yeah.
So he and I met for the first time in 2009. We were back in Alaska for the 50th anniversary of Alaska becoming a state. Our boys, 36 Crazy Fist. You can hear their music on our videos we did with you guys.
Okay.
They were doing this massive show video and everything like that. So we were up there for that, and Jake and I met for the first time. Then find out he's in Raleigh. He was running NROTC at NC State. So, we became friends from there, and then through that, I met my other partner Josh through him, because he met Josh when they were at NC State together. Josh was a P3 pilot. He got out into the Navy Reserve. He's still in the Navy Reserve. He's retiring this year sometime. Within the next 6 months. But they're both in the industry up there. So that my partner, these guys I knew, but they also knew me through these other ventures that I had that were good intention, poor judgment on my side. And that was actually something that we all talked about a lot. And like the goal is just that we don't want to do this. They also were entrepreneur mindset. Jake is an artist, and Josh was trying to help him grow, and we got him in a couple of art galleries and everything like that. Mm-hmm. So my partners are definitely, we're here where we are because of them. I have all these ideas, and I'm just like, hey, let's do this. I want to do this. And they're like, all right, calm down. All right, let's do this. And we plan it out. And then we just, again, You got your 5 meter, your 100 meter, your 500, your 1,000 meter targets, right?
Right.
So same kind of concept.
You built a good team.
Yeah.
You built
and
what it sounds like. You built an awesome team, and now you guys, how many products now, you said?
We're at like, I think we're at like 9.
Okay.
9.
Well, I have one of your slings,
Yeah.
which you brought with you today.
Yeah.
And I know you've got multiple versions of the grip now. We're going to get close to time here, so I want to give some time to actually show everybody what it is that you've put so much time, effort, blood, sweat, and tears into before we run out. So why don't you go ahead and pick up this beautiful piece of equipment here and show us the infamous Riker Grip that we've been talking about for the last hour.
So again, this is set up for a right-handed shooter because most of you people out there are right-handed. But what you have here is the Riker Grip. We're the first to market side-mounted grip. Speed, accuracy, and stability are all improved with this. You can see on here, this is a key mod rail, so we have a piece of Picatinny attachment on there to mount the grip on. The grip comes with your standard pick mount, but we also offer an M-lock mount. You have your DC mount, which is named after our friend Doug Curtis. He's actually the one who came up with the original concept. So if you have an idea that you want to collaborate with, or invent, when we make it real, we'll name it after you. So this gives you a piece of pick rail where you can put your pressure pad on for your light, laser, and your devices and mount your light and lasers wherever you want on the real estate of your gun. We have our Riker sling, which is an active sling. It has integrated bungee in here, which gives you a super unique push-pull with the Riker method. And then we have our not even officially released yet cable guard. And all this does is it's a track on the back side. It allows you to protect your cables, and it just clips over your Picatinny rail and kind of removes the need to put zip ties and duct tape on your rifle.
Awesome. Now, you told a story. So last month you did a member spotlight at our Wilmington VBC meeting, and you told a story. I'm gonna ask you, kind of put you on the spot, and see if you'd be willing to retell the story here for us.
Which one?
Well, so earlier you mentioned that you've seen the positive benefit that people have gotten out of using the Riker Grip, because it's not just a cool guy thing. It's not just a look neat thing, but it has, from what you've explained in the past, actual like physiologically intended medical benefits to using it, because you had a bad shoulder, right?
Yeah, I had.
And this helps you shoot.
Yep.
And you told a story about a particular Medal of Honor recipient who had the opportunity to try out your grip. Would you mind talking about that a little bit?
Yeah. So, I invented it for pain management, and then in our process, we brought on a doctor of biomechanics, an ophthalmologist, MDs, engineers, and statisticians. So when we say you are faster and more accurate with this, we have data to back that up. How many other products on the market can do that other than an optic? I'm going to say probably none. So that being said, it was. We were also advised by the biomechanic guy that we were wasting our time in the firearms industry, and we should be thinking about power tools with our grip. And that's something that was actually on our radar. And
I could see that being on a big
impact
drill or something like that. Yeah.
So we're working. That's like, again, focus on one thing, right? So I got to take a really, really good friend of mine, and I won't get into the story and how he and I became good friends, but it's probably one of the best human. He's in my top 5. I have like my top 5 of best human beings on earth. We take Kyle Carpenter out to the range, and if you guys aren't familiar with him, you should pick up his book. It's on my list. You Are Worth It by Kyle Carpenter. Amazing book. The audiobook is better because he reads it. So that's okay. Awesome. But we took him out to the range, and he's now left-handed. So we put him on the gun, and he shoots one mag, and he comes back, and he goes, "Can I keep shooting?" And we're like, "Absolutely." So he gets up there, we put a chest rig on him, and he's like shooting, reloading on his own and everything. And he turns around and says, "Fellas," he goes, I'm not exaggerating, I'm not kidding. He's like, "Today, as I stand here, as I am post-injuries," he's like, "I could go back to Afghanistan today because of that grip." And our silent partner up in Alaska, and I shared that story with them, and he was like, "Fellas," he's like, "if we never sell another product again, we're a success."
Yeah.
Because we gave him back something he lost. So
He lost in a very
yeah,
sacrificial manner.
jumping on a grenade.
It doesn't get any more sacrificial than that, does it?
Yeah, it's pretty. He's a great kid. He's a great kid. So he is. He's just like a little brother. I love him to death.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So, and we've got a bunch of stories like that. We got a bunch of guys that injured dudes, the guys with no legs, guys with lung transplants and everything. We've got short people with not a lot of upper body strength who found massive benefit from this because you're not holding the gun up, you're pulling it back. Mm-hmm. It works biomechanically how your body's supposed to work. Works with you, not against you.
So definitely a lot of science behind your product.
Yeah, it's funny.
And now emotion too.
Yeah. I mean, I believe in it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's
man.
So what's on the horizon? What's next for Riker?
So the ultimate goal is to create the joystick of the weapon, to have the integrated electronics, so to be able to have your button in here and the wires come out of the inside of the grip into there. And we're actually officially we're in phase 1 prototype of that. No more just like, concept and talking about it. We actually have 4 downrange right now with some of our friends who have been using our products from the beginning, mm-hmm. and they should be getting to them any day now, and they're going to put them to the test for the next few months and give me their feedback. So there's that, and then at the same time, simultaneously, we have about a dozen full-on official version 1 prototypes being made right now. Probably about 6 weeks away from having those and being able to put those in people's hands to demo.
Man, that is fantastic. Sounds like the momentum's really built, and now it's starting to steamroll, huh?
And we're working on we're doing version 2 of our sling. Okay. So our sling, we've gotten a lot of feedback on it. We gave it to some of the top tier guys. They love the concept. They're like, it's great, and they gave us some suggestions, and we took every single one of them to heart, and we're redoing the sling. So the sling. And again, the industry, the country right now, raw materials, source materials, and everything is delayed and backed up. So we're hoping to have it out very soon, but I can't give dates on certain things. Fortunately, all of our stuff that we use is made in the United States. So that's cool. I don't know. Cool. I don't know if we're certain components, like the electronic components, I don't know where they're coming from, but everything is, as far as we know, is made, manufactured, assembled, and delivered in the United States, which is important for us.
Good for you guys. Yeah, absolutely. We're just about out of time, so I'd like to. I sent you a little note ahead of time, asked you to prepare a couple things. So we've got a lot of active duty listeners and folks in general who might be considering going into a manufacturing type business or product development business mm-hmm. rather than the service industry. And as a guy who's been there, done it, had some failures, had some struggles, and now is starting to climb the mountaintop, what are a couple of things, main points that you'd want to leave with our listeners to help them out?
Well, don't beat yourself up. Like I said earlier, you don't know what you don't know. And something that we learned in the Marines, never expect anything, you'll never be disappointed. People are going to make empty promises to you. They're going to be like, dude, I'll help you any way I can, blah, blah, blah. And when then that time comes for you to be like, dude, I need your help right here, they're not going to help you. Don't take it personal. Everybody has their own stuff they're dealing with. It might be the wrong time. They might not be in the same position presently, mm-hmm. when they made you that commitment 6 months, a year, 2 years ago, right? They might even forgot that they even did it. Don't take it personal and be like, all right, man, cool, no worries, move on. Don't
dwell on
short-term memory, and just move on. Don't hold on to negative thoughts. Don't hold on to negative energy, man. You're going to get back from the universe what you put out. Be happy. Find something that makes you happy. One of the best books that I read that helped me in my transition from active duty when I retired was The Art of Happiness by the Dalai Lama. It's not about being a Buddhist, but it's about Buddhist principles in everyday living. And that one carries true for me a lot. I really try to not say the word hate and put out positive vibes. And if somebody doesn't like you, you're not going to make them like you. Just, just try to make their day better and move on. And then realize, okay, cool. Next. Like I said, be prepared to be let down. Everybody wants to help. And don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to fail. Because failure is, when I was a football coach in Alaska, for Pop Warner, I used to tell my kids, it's like, and they would say it, it's like, who is failure? Failure is my friend. What is failure? Failure is pain. Failure is my teacher, right? That will teach you more about yourself. You'll get more growth about yourself and for your company, like looking at failure as a positive. I think Jocko has like a whole chapter in one of his books about failing, and why it's good. So that stuff, and then let the failure motivate you, and let the negativity motivate you. Take that negative and turn it into a positive, right? Yeah. And then and move on. Like, you don't like me, you don't like my stuff, whatever, blah blah blah. Cool, yeah. Right on. There's plenty of people out there that do, and you know what? I got to do what I got to do to get us where our goal is to get to as a company. So, yeah. But yeah. That's kind of it.
That's great advice. A lot of that resonates well with me from some of my personal experiences, and it's good to be reminded of it because it's easy to let those negative thoughts creep in and start to control things sometimes. So mm-hmm. That's wonderful advice, and I wrote that first book down, but I think you've got a couple more to recommend. Don't you? Yeah. Let's hear them. What are they?
Well, I got one. You said you wanted a couple points, and one is a quote, one of my favorite quotes by Muhammad Ali. The man who's viewed the world at 50 views the world at 50 is the same as he did when he was 20, has wasted 30 years of his life.
Deep.
Yes, yeah. And you have to change. You have to reinvent yourself. I graduated from college with honors at 48 years old. If you knew me in high school, that's a pretty massive feat, right? For me to graduate with honors, right? You have to constantly keep moving forward and doing things, It's really long. I won't read it all. But the other one is Principles My Father Taught Me. By Doug Zembeck. So if you guys don't know who Doug Zembeck is, hands down, best Marine I've ever known. Best reconnaissance Marine, and one of the best humans. He's in my top 5. And he's also known as the Lion of Fallujah. And the principles my father taught me, you guys should Google it. And it's just something that I look at and I read a lot. And as one of his Marines, when he first read it, and I remember him saying it to us, and it was like his motto, his credo, and transitioning now to being a father, it's completely different because it's not about me. One of my favorite books, and it's like The Art of War, but the Book of Five Rings by Musashi Miyamoto.
Yep.
It's a book you read for your life. And I've read this book multiple times, as a Marine. And I read it, the last time I read it was about 3 years ago. And the book is completely different now that I'm a dad. Because I'm no longer the student. Mm-hmm. I'm the teacher. And you want to have things that add value. This stuff just gets to me sometimes.
No,
but
good.
Yeah, so principles my father taught me. Doug Zembeck is probably, he's Earth's greatest warrior. That guy was destined to be, destined for greatness. Either run JSOC, run the Marine Corps, he was in, and he was killed. My book list. So get to some happier stuff here. My book list. All the Jack Carr books. Jack Carr's The SEAL. His books are incredible. One of my other favorite books is Without Remorse, Tom Clancy. I swear to God, I think that thing took me 3 months to read. It was 900 pages. It's the biggest book I've ever read in my life. It's like 15 pounds. That thing was with me everywhere. I love that book. That movie that they made is absolute disgrace to the story. It's just horrible at it because I went back and listened to the book again after I watched that movie, and I'm like, yeah, that movie's stupid. That movie would have been great if they called it something different.
Gotcha.
It would have been great, but it's not even close to capturing John Clark's character. Jack Carr books, all of them. I can't wait for the new one to come out. He blows Clancy out of the water. His attention to detail, and a dude, Ray Porter, who he has narrate the audiobooks, man, they're awesome.
Okay.
It is because the dude does voices and everything. One of the books I've recently listened to, and again, I have a 5-year-old reading audiobooks. I'm going to get a lot more. I'm kinesthetic. I'm going to retain a lot more out of them. So I have listened to The Comfort Crisis 5 times in the last 3 months by Michael Easter. And it's a unique story. A guy's an alcoholic from a family of alcoholics. And he just wakes up one day and he's like, I'm done. I'm done drinking and everything. And then ends up into meeting this guy, Donnie Vincent, who's this amazing hunting conservationist dude. And is like doing these like 40-day hunts in the interior of Alaska for caribou. And it's just, but his story bounces around and it goes into like all of these physical challenges and these things and all these like limitations that you can do with your body. And it's just like, it's extremely educational. And the book was recommended by a friend of mine, Bert Sorn from Sornex in South Carolina. And I love this book. I'll listen to it again probably next month when I finish the current book I'm in. Surprise Kill Vanish by Andy Jacobson. It's about the history of Ground Branch and the start of the paramilitary covert side of the CIA. This book needs to be a movie. It's insane. It talks about this dude, Billy Wall. This dude has fought in every conflict from the Korean War.
Afghanistan at like 70-something years old.
Operating.
Yeah. On a horse with a rifle.
Insane what that book tells you. Without Remorse, You're Worth It by Kyle Carpenter. You Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Man, that dude is just nothing but like, holy crap. Like you listen Goggins? Listen to him for like 30 seconds, you're like, I'm going to run through that wall right now. But the complete book of the 5 Rings, and then I'm currently in the middle of, and I'll be listening to it back to back. I'm almost done. Own the Day, Own Your Life by Aubrey Marcus, the founder of On It. Okay. And the On It is something that's been very big in my life over this last year as far as the On It program, the online digital library for training. So the mobility stuff, the workouts, the 6-week workout plans they have in there, with the steel mace and the clubs and stuff like that. So all of these things, like, again, I want value added. I don't read a lot of fiction, but like the Tom Clancy and the Jack Carr books are that true fiction, right. And it correlates to my life. It correlates to things I've done and, just current events. And that's the thing of the Jack Carr, he's writing these books and there's like current events like in real there.
Time, yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty impressive.
I'll have to check them out. I like to think I read a lot, but I've only read one of the books on your list, so you just gave me a lot of homework.
Yeah, man.
And I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, we're about out of time, Ron.
All right.
I absolutely appreciate you coming on here today.
Yeah.
And sharing your story with me. I mean, I should have been taking notes, but I can go back and listen to this again and take my notes then. So I learned a lot from you today, and I learn a lot from you every time you speak at our events and everything too. So really appreciate you being there for the guys that are going to try and follow in your footsteps and being a resource for them. Before we close it out, if we have folks that are interested in any of the Riker USA products, or if we have people that want to reach out to you, maybe just if it's, I'm going to put you on the spot, but if you're willing to, entertain questions from people about
100%.
How to do stuff, how can people get in touch with you?
So, Riker USA on Instagram. We're going through our Instagram page is Riker USA. Facebook's the same. I'm more active on Instagram than any of the other pages. We do have a Twitter, but I don't remember last time I was on it. And our YouTube channel, we'll be updating all our videos. And YouTube is also Riker USA, RYKER. You can DM me on that, and I will get back to you. Or you can email me, ron.holmes, HOLMES, at rikerusa.com. And I will mentor, answer questions. I'll do anything I can to help you. If I don't know, I don't know. If I know somebody that knows, I will establish a connection with you and them. And, I'll help you talk about transition, what things that you can do, things that worked for me, and, just anything else, like, business-oriented or whatever.
Yeah, and I'm going to encourage anybody listening to take you up on that if they're thinking about going down that road. Not going to find anyone better to learn from. Well, thanks a lot, Ron. I'll let you get out of here.
All right.
Really appreciate it, friend.
Yeah, man.